The dense foliage of the Amazon rainforest was alive with the sounds of nature, chirping birds, rustling leaves, and the distant call of a howler monkey. But beneath this symphony, something far more dangerous stirred. Hidden within the thick underbrush, human soldiers lay in wait, their breathing shallow, their movements imperceptible. The air was thick with humidity, the scent of earth and decaying leaves clinging to every breath. Sergeant Nathan Cole scanned the surrounding jungle, his eyes sharp beneath the brim of his camouflaged helmet. His team, the Ghosts, had been training for this moment for years. They were Earth's last line of defense, a force so elusive they had earned their name by becoming shadows in the world's most unforgiving environments. Cole's hand tightened around the grip of his rifle, his senses on high alert. "Visual on the Zarek," a voice crackled softly in his earpiece. It was Lieutenant Ramirez, stationed with the Overwatch team on a nearby ridge. "Negative," Cole whispered back, his voice barely audible. "They're close though. Keep your eyes peeled." The Zarek Empire, known across the galaxy for their ruthless efficiency and technological superiority, had arrived on Earth with a single intent: conquest. Their warriors, clad in sleek armor that glimmered with alien metals, moved with the arrogance of a species that had never known defeat. Advanced scanners and detection systems hummed as they swept the jungle, searching for any sign of human resistance. "They think we're primitive," Cole muttered to himself, a grim smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. "Let's show them how wrong they are." As the Zarek warriors advanced, their boots crunching softly on the jungle floor, the Ghosts remained invisible. They had perfected the art of camouflage, blending seamlessly into their surroundings. But this was no mere visual trick. Every sound, every trace of their presence had been meticulously erased. The jungle itself seemed to swallow them whole, leaving nothing for the Zarek to find. Cole could see the lead warrior now, a towering figure with a crest of sharp, iridescent scales atop his head. The alien paused, scanning the trees with cold, calculating eyes. Behind him, the other Zarek soldiers spread out, their weapons at the ready. But there was an unease in their movements, a tension that hadn't been there when they landed. "They're getting nervous." Ramirez's voice came again, this time tinged with satisfaction. "They can't find us." Cole's grin widened, but his focus remained razor-sharp. The Zarek were known for their brutal tactics, but they had never faced an enemy like this. The Ghosts were not just soldiers. They were predators, stalking their prey with the patience of seasoned hunters. "On my mark," Cole whispered, his voice a low growl. He waited, counting the beats of his heart, timing it perfectly. 3, 2, 1, engage. The jungle exploded into chaos. Gunfire erupted from all directions, the Ghosts striking with lethal precision. The Zarek, caught off guard, scrambled to respond. Their advanced armor proved no match for the deadly accuracy of Earth's finest. Cole moved with practiced fluidity, his rifle spitting fire as he picked off the enemy one by one. "Fall back!" the Zarek commander bellowed, his voice echoing through the trees. But it was too late. The Ghosts had turned the jungle into a death trap. Their superior knowledge of the terrain allowed them to outmaneuver and outgun their alien foes. Cole dropped to one knee, reloading in a smooth, practiced motion. The battle was fierce, but short-lived. Within minutes, the Zarek were retreating, their forces decimated, their pride shattered. Cole watched them flee, his expression hard as steel. "Mission accomplished," he said into the calm, his voice steady. But even as the last of the Zarek disappeared into the jungle, he knew this was only the beginning. The Zarek would return, and when they did, they would be even more dangerous. For now, Earth had won the day. As the Ghosts regrouped, melting back into the shadows from which they came, Cole allowed himself a brief moment of satisfaction. They had proven their worth, shown the galaxy that humanity was not to be underestimated. But deep down, he knew the war was far from over. And when the Zarek returned, they would be ready. The jungle fell silent once more, the sounds of battle fading into the humid air. But the memory of the Ghosts, the unseen warriors who had outsmarted the galaxy's finest, would linger in the minds of the Zarek for a long time to come. The cold light of dawn filtered through the thick canopy, casting dappled shadows on the forest floor. Sergeant Nathan Cole crouched low, his eyes narrowed as he studied the tracks before him. The Zarek were retreating, but not in the disorganized fashion he had hoped. These were disciplined soldiers, and even in defeat they moved with purpose. "They're regrouping," Cole muttered, more to himself than to the others. He could feel the tension in the air, a taut wire ready to snap. His team, the Ghosts, had inflicted heavy losses, but they hadn't won yet. The Zarek weren't just fleeing, they were planning something. "Sergeant!" Lieutenant Ramirez's voice crackled through the earpiece, cutting through the stillness. "I've got eyes on their fallback position. Looks like they're digging in, setting up a perimeter about a click north of your position." Cole's jaw tightened. "They're not running anymore. They're making a stand." A soft rustle behind him signaled the approach of Private Davis, one of the youngest members of the Ghosts, but with the instincts of a seasoned hunter. "We should hit them hard now, while they're still licking their wounds," Davis suggested, his voice low and eager. Cole considered it. But something about the Zarek's movements didn't sit right with him. "No," he said after a moment. "That's what they want us to do. We charge in, and they've got us right where they want us. We need to be smarter." The Ghosts were trained for this, using the environment to their advantage, striking from the shadows, and disappearing before the enemy could retaliate. But the Zarek were adapting, learning from their mistakes. They were setting a trap, and Cole wasn't about to walk into it. "What's the play, Sergeant?" Ramirez asked, his tone steady but edged with urgency. The clock was ticking, and the Zarek weren't going to wait forever. Cole's mind raced through the possibilities. They needed to disrupt the Zarek's plans, throw them off balance, but without exposing themselves to the full force of the enemy's counterattack. The jungle was their ally, but it was also a dangerous place to be cornered. "We're going to split up," Cole decided, the plan forming in his mind like pieces of a puzzle snapping into place. "Ramirez, you and Davis take the high ground. Find a position where you can keep eyes on them, but stay hidden. Don't engage unless absolutely necessary." "And you?" Davis asked, his eyes betraying a mix of curiosity and concern. "I'm going in close," Cole replied, his voice grim. "I need to see what they're planning. If they're setting a trap, I'll be the bait." There was a brief silence, the weight of the decision hanging in the air. Ramirez was the first to break it. "Copy that, Sergeant. We'll cover you." Cole gave a short nod, appreciating the trust his men placed in him. It was a dangerous plan, but they didn't have the luxury of time or resources. The Zarek needed to be stopped here, before they could regroup and launch another attack. He moved through the underbrush with practiced ease, every step calculated to avoid detection. The jungle was alive with sound, but Cole's movements were a whisper against the backdrop of nature. The scent of damp earth and decaying leaves filled his nostrils, grounding him in the moment. As he approached the Zarek position, he could hear the low hum of their technology, a dark contrast to the organic environment. The aliens were working quickly, setting up what looked like a forward base. Cole's heart pounded in his chest as he crept closer, using every bit of cover available. Through the foliage, he could make out the figures of the Zarek warriors, their alien features tense with concentration. They were building something large and ominous. A weapon, perhaps. Or a beacon. Cole couldn't be sure, but whatever it was, it spelled trouble. A branch snapped nearby, and Cole froze, his breath catching in his throat. One of the Zarek soldiers turned, his gaze sweeping the area. Cole's pulse quickened, every muscle in his body poised to strike, or flee. The Zarek hesitated, then returned to his task. The moment of danger passed, but the tension remained coiled and ready to strike. Cole knew he was running out of time. He needed to get back to his team and come up with a plan, before the Zarek could finish whatever they were building. The Ghosts were good, but they weren't invincible. Carefully, Cole began to retreat, his mind already racing with strategies. They had to hit the Zarek hard, but from a direction they wouldn't expect. The element of surprise was their greatest weapon, and they couldn't afford to lose it. As he made his way back to the rendezvous point, Cole couldn't shake the feeling that the real battle was just beginning. The Zarek were more formidable than he had anticipated, and the ghosts would need every ounce of their skill and cunning to survive what was coming. But if there was one thing Cole knew, it was that humanity didn't give up easily. The Zarek had underestimated them once. They wouldn't live to make that mistake again. The oppressive heat of the jungle weighed heavily on Sergeant Nathan Cole as he rejoined his team at the rendezvous point. The air was thick with moisture, making every breath feel like a struggle. He wiped the sweat from his brow, his mind still racing with the images of the Zarek setting up their base. Whatever they were building, it was big, and it was deadly. "Sergeant, what's the call?" Ramirez asked, his voice low but charged with urgency. He had positioned himself behind a cluster of dense foliage, his rifle at the ready, eyes scanning the surroundings for any sign of movement. "They're constructing something. Could be a weapon or a communication relay," Cole replied, his tone measured despite the rising tension. "We can't let them finish it. We're going to hit them hard and fast, but we need to be smart about it." Private Davis shifted uneasily. "What's the plan, sir?" Cole took a deep breath, the scent of the jungle mingling with the metallic tang of adrenaline. "We'll divide their attention. Ramirez, you and Davis set up an ambush point on the west side. I'll move in from the east. We hit them simultaneously, and when they turn to face one of us, the other team takes them out." Ramirez nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "What about their air support?" "We haven't seen any yet, but they're bound to have something." Cole's jaw tightened. He hadn't seen or heard any aircraft, but that didn't mean the Zarek weren't holding something back. "We'll need to move quickly. Strike hard and disappear before they can call for backup." The ghosts moved with practiced efficiency, slipping through the undergrowth like wraiths. The jungle, which had been a hostile environment for countless invaders, became their ally once more. The dense foliage muffled their footsteps, the sounds of the jungle masking their approach. Cole could feel the tension rising, each step bringing them closer to the Zarek and the imminent clash. As he approached the eastern flank of the Zarek's position, his senses heightened. Every rustle of leaves, every distant cry of a bird, seemed amplified in the stillness. He could see the Zarek soldiers now, their alien forms moving with calculated precision as they worked on their mysterious construction. The hum of their machinery filled the air, a stark reminder of the technological edge they wielded. But technology wasn't everything, and the Zarek were about to learn that lesson the hard way. Cole signaled to Ramirez with a quick, subtle hand movement. The time had come. The ghosts were in position, ready to strike. His heart pounded in his chest, but his mind remained clear, focused on the task at hand. "On my mark," Cole whispered into his calm. 3, 2, 1, now." The jungle erupted into chaos. Gunfire rang out from both sides. Ramirez and Davis opened up with precise, controlled bursts, taking out the Zarek soldiers who were caught in the open. Cole fired from his position, his shots finding their targets with deadly accuracy. The Zarek, momentarily stunned by the sudden attack, scrambled to respond. Cole moved like a shadow through the trees, his rifle spitting fire as he advanced. The Zarek were quick to react, returning fire with their advanced energy weapons, but the ghosts were always one step ahead. The dense jungle, which had once seemed like an obstacle, now provided the perfect cover for their hit-and-run tactics. "Stay low and keep moving!" Cole barked into his calm, his voice cutting through the chaos. The ghosts were outnumbered, but they had the element of surprise, and the advantage of terrain. A Zarek warrior, larger than the others and heavily armored, charged toward Cole's position, its weapon blazing. Cole dove to the side, rolling to his feet in one smooth motion. He fired, aiming for the weak points in the alien's armor, and was rewarded with a guttural roar of pain as the Zarek staggered, its advance halted. "Davis! Flank right!" Cole ordered, his mind working at a rapid pace. The Zarek were regrouping, their initial disarray giving way to a more coordinated defense. They were tough, resilient, but they had underestimated the human ability to adapt and overcome. Davis moved swiftly, circling around the Zarek position. He emerged from the underbrush, his rifle trained on the exposed flank of the alien warriors. He fired a burst, taking down 2 of them before they could react. But just as Cole thought they had the upper hand, a low, ominous hum filled the air. He glanced upward, and saw the source of the sound. Zarek drones. Sleek and deadly, descending from the canopy. "Fall back!" Cole shouted, urgency lacing his words. The drones opened fire, their energy weapons cutting through the foliage with terrifying precision. The ghosts moved quickly, retreating into the deeper jungle, but not before Cole caught a glimpse of what the Zarek had been building. A massive cannon, its barrel glowing with an otherworldly light. "Ramirez! Davis! Get clear!" Cole ordered, as they dashed through the jungle, the sound of the drones' weapons hot on their heels. They had struck the Zarek hard, but the aliens weren't finished yet. The battle was far from over, and the ghosts would need every bit of their cunning and courage to survive the coming storm. As the jungle swallowed them once more, Cole knew they had only bought themselves a little time. The Zarek would strike back. And when they did, it would be with a vengeance. The jungle was eerily quiet as the ghosts regrouped deep within its dense heart. The oppressive humidity pressed down on them, mixing with the tension that hung in the air. Sergeant Nathan Cole crouched low, his eyes fixed on the faint glow in the distance. The Zarek's massive cannon, now fully operational. They had only minutes before the Zarek would unleash its destructive power. "Status report," Cole ordered, his voice a controlled whisper, though the urgency was clear. Lieutenant Ramirez was the first to respond. "Minimal injuries, but we're low on ammo. And those drones are still out there, sweeping the area." Private Davis, breathing heavily but determined, added, "They're going to use that cannon soon, Sergeant. We can't let them fire it." Cole knew they had no time to waste. The Zarek had been relentless in their pursuit, and now they were ready to deliver the killing blow. But Cole had one last card to play, one final gambit that could turn the tide. "Ramirez. Davis. Listen up," Cole began, his voice steady despite the stakes. "We're going to take out that cannon. But we can't do it head-on. The Zarek are expecting us to make a frontal assault, they're counting on it." Ramirez nodded, already anticipating where Cole was going with this. "We hit them from the sides. Make them think we're coming from everywhere." "Exactly," Cole confirmed. "Ramirez, you take the high ground again. Use whatever ammo you have left to distract those drones. Davis, you're with me. We're going to circle around and hit them where it hurts." The plan was risky, but it was the only option they had left. The Zarek might have superior firepower, but the ghosts had the element of surprise. And they knew how to use the environment to their advantage. The team moved out with quiet efficiency, slipping through the thick undergrowth like spirits in the night. The jungle, once a barrier, was now their shield. The distant hum of the Zarek cannon grew louder as they approached, the air tinged with the metallic scent of alien machinery. Cole signaled for Davis to stay low as they reached the perimeter of the Zarek's position. The cannon loomed before them, its barrel glowing ominously as it charged. Around it, the Zarek soldiers moved with mechanical precision, unaware of the danger creeping close. Ramirez's voice crackled in Cole's earpiece. "In position. Ready on your mark." Cole's gaze swept the area, noting the positions of the Zarek warriors and the drones hovering above. He could feel the weight of the moment, the culmination of their desperate struggle coming to a head. "Go," Cole whispered. Ramirez opened fire from his vantage point, his shots precise and calculated. The drones immediately veered toward the source, their energy weapons lighting up the sky. The Zarek soldiers, caught off guard, turned their attention to the new threat. Cole didn't hesitate. He and Davis moved swiftly, using the chaos to their advantage. They slipped past the distracted Zarek, their movements silent and deadly. The cannon, now fully charged, loomed over them, a symbol of the destruction it was about to unleash. Cole planted the last of his explosives at the base of the cannon, his fingers moving quickly and efficiently. The timer ticked down, each second bringing them closer to either victory or annihilation. "We're set," Cole murmured into his calm. "Ramirez, pull back." But just as they began to retreat, one of the Zarek soldiers spotted them. A shout went up, and suddenly the jungle exploded with noise. Energy blasts tore through the trees, lighting up the night as the Zarek opened fire. "Move!" Cole barked, pushing Davis ahead of him as they sprinted for cover. The timer on the explosives was ticking down, the seconds stretching into an eternity. Cole could feel the heat of the energy blasts whizzing past, the ground erupting around them. "Ramirez! Get clear!" Cole shouted as they dove behind a fallen tree. The roar of the Zarek cannon reached a deafening pitch, the barrel glowing with blinding light as it prepared to fire. Then, with a thunderous explosion, the jungle lit up. The explosives detonated. The cannon shuddered, its immense structure buckling as the blast ripped through its foundation. The glow from the barrel flickered, then dimmed. The weapon was silenced before it could unleash its destructive power. For a moment, everything was still. The Zarek, stunned by the sudden destruction of their weapon, hesitated. And in that moment, the ghost struck. "Now!" Cole ordered, and the team sprang into action. From his elevated vantage point, Ramirez provided relentless cover fire, forcing the disoriented Zarek soldiers into defensive positions. Cole and Davis pressed the advantage, charging forward through the smoke and shattered debris. The Zarek, once confident in their overwhelming strength, faltered under the unexpected and calculated fury of the ghosts. The air was thick with smoke and the acrid scent of scorched metal. The once pristine alien machinery now lay twisted and broken, a testament to human resistance and ingenuity. Cole moved like a force of nature, his rifle barking with each pull of the trigger. Davis flanked the enemy's right side, his shots clean and deliberate. The Zarek, now disorganized and leaderless, stumbled to respond. The destruction of their prized weapon had broken their morale. What had once been a calculated advance was now a desperate attempt to survive. "Push them back!" Cole shouted, his voice hoarse from smoke and adrenaline. "Don't give them a chance to regroup!" The ghosts did not relent. They advanced like phantoms through the chaos, dismantling what remained of the Zarek strike force with precision and fury. Alien screams filled the night, echoing against the jungle canopy, as the technologically superior invaders were driven into retreat by the very species they had dismissed as inferior. A Zarek lieutenant, a towering brute with twin plasma cannons mounted on each forearm, charged at Cole in a last-ditch effort. Cole sidestepped, ducking under the sweeping arc of the alien's arm. With a swift motion, he jammed a combat knife through a seam in the armor under its arm. The Zarek roared in pain and collapsed as Cole fired 3 quick rounds into its exposed neck. "Status!" he barked into the calm. "Ramirez here," came the response. "North side is clear. I count 4 drones destroyed. I'm low on ammo. Davis? 2 more down. They're retreating northwest. Running scared." Cole nodded grimly. "Good. But stay alert." Around them, the last of the Zarek broke and ran, scattering into the jungle with none of their former cohesion. Their numbers had dwindled, their strength shattered, their belief in victory dissolved in the face of human defiance. Cole stood amidst the wreckage, breath ragged, his armor scorched and streaked with dirt and blood. He surveyed the battlefield, the remains of the massive cannon smoldering behind him, bodies of Zarek warriors strewn around like fallen statues. They had done it. They had turned the tide. But Cole's instincts screamed that this wasn't the end. It never was. The jungle was once again quiet, but the silence no longer brought relief. It was a warning, a breath held before the next wave. Davis approached, wiping grime from his brow. "We did it," he said, panting, eyes wide with disbelief and triumph. "We actually did it." Cole met his gaze, nodding slowly. "This is just the beginning. They'll be back. And next time, it won't just be 1 cannon." Ramirez joined them, limping slightly but still sharp-eyed. "What now, Sergeant?" Cole looked to the horizon where the first hints of dawn were pushing back the darkness. The air was heavy with smoke, but the light cut through it in golden shafts. "We regroup. We fortify. And we prepare. Because the next time they come, We make damn sure they regret it." The three soldiers stood side by side, surrounded by the wreckage of what had almost been Earth's end. They had survived. They had won. For now. But Cole knew the war was far from over. The galaxy would take note of what had happened here, in this patch of jungle where shadows had turned the tide of war. And the legend of the ghosts, unseen, unyielding, unstoppable, would spread. The jungle stood hushed in the golden light of dawn, its canopy swaying gently as if whispering secrets of the battle it had just witnessed. Smoke curled upward from the shattered remains of the Zarek cannon, mingling with the morning mist to form a veil over the battleground. Trees bore scorch marks, craters marred the earth, and shattered alien tech lay scattered like the bones of defeated beasts. Sergeant Nathan Cole stood still, his rifle lowered, his breath slowing. Around him, the ghosts emerged from the underbrush, silent shadows reuniting after chaos. Despite the heat and exhaustion, they wore the quiet expression of victory earned, not claimed. The jungle was theirs again, for now. Private Davis leaned against a tree, wiping grime from his face. "Think that'll send a message?" Cole's lips curled into a tired smirk. "If it didn't, they weren't listening." Ramirez approached, a data pad in hand. "Recovered this off a Zarek officer," he said. "Encrypted. Might have data on reinforcements or planetary scans." "Good," Cole replied. "Send it up to command. Let them know what we're facing. And tell them we're still here." Ramirez nodded, immediately patching into their satellite uplink. The signal was weak, filtered through the thick canopy and electromagnetic noise from alien tech, but it would get through. Somewhere far above, a human command center would receive the intel and know Earth had struck back. As the remaining ghosts fanned out to secure the area, Cole turned his gaze back toward the battlefield. The jungle was starting to reclaim it. Vines curled toward broken metal. The earth was absorbing blood, human and Zarek alike. Nature had no side. It would grow over the scars, but the memory would remain. He took a deep breath, grounding himself. This wasn't just about defense anymore. The Zarek had come expecting submission. Instead, they found resistance and pain. Cole's team had shattered their confidence. But now, Earth had to be more than defiant. It had to be relentless. "They'll regroup," he said quietly, more to himself than anyone else. "They'll come with bigger guns, more ships, better tactics." Davis stepped closer. "Then we'll fight smarter. Hit harder." Cole looked at the young soldier, barely out of his teens, already hardened by battle. And yet, his eyes held no fear, only resolve. "That's the spirit," Cole said. "The ghosts don't just survive. We haunt their nightmares." From the edge of the clearing, a scout waved them over. Cole followed and spotted faint energy trails, signs of rapid movement north. The Zarek survivors hadn't gone far. They were regrouping again. Plotting again. "Think they'll be back tonight?" Davis asked. "Maybe," Cole answered. "Or maybe they'll send someone worse." He didn't say it aloud, but they all knew the battle for Earth had begun in earnest. This victory, however critical, was only one skirmish in a much larger war. Still, there was power in what they had done. They had destroyed the most advanced weapon the Zarek had brought. They had outmaneuvered warriors bred for domination. They had exposed weaknesses in a force that thought itself flawless. And they had done it in the dirt, sweat, and shadows of a jungle. Cole looked around one last time, taking in his battered team, the wreckage of alien arrogance, and the rising sun that cast long shadows through the trees. "We fall back to secondary position," he ordered. "We regroup. We rearm. We disappear." Ramirez raised an eyebrow. "Disappear?" Cole gave a knowing nod. "Let them think we're gone. Let them feel safe again. Because the next time we strike, we end them." As the ghosts melted back into the jungle, the world grew quiet once more. But the silence was no longer peaceful. It was loaded, thick with tension, with promise, with vengeance deferred. Far across the stars, when the Zarek would report back to their high command, they would speak not just of resistance, but of phantoms in the trees, of death without warning, of ghosts. And those who listened would know, Earth had warriors worth fearing. And they were just getting started,